Hi guys, very good evening. Thank you so much for joining us for this session. We're going to start off real soon. We're just going to wait for a few minutes for a few more of you to join us. As you know, today we're going to be talking about volunteering and volunteering as a stepping stone to success. And to talk about all of this, we have a very special guest. I will shortly be introducing her to you guys. All right, the numbers are going up. Just going to wait for another minute. Meanwhile, you can introduce yourselves. Say a quick hello in the chat section. Tell me where you are from. I'm Malvika and I am from iSchoolConnect. And we will basically be walking you through one of the really important aspects of, amping up your profile if you're looking at studying abroad, if you're looking at higher education, and that is, of course, volunteering and social work. Getting a few hellos. Hi, Rishi. Hi, Adil. Adil is from Kerala. Hi, Santosh. All of you can tell us where you're from, what you're studying currently, what you're aspiring to study. You can even talk to us anonymously. And while you introduce yourselves, if you have any questions, you can shoot all your questions even through the webinar. Keep asking as many questions as you have, and we'll answer all of them. Hi Akshita, hi Astha, hi Santosh. Tell me what you guys are studying, and we'd love to know about that as well. We'd love to know what your goals are, what you're looking for as well through this presentation, if there are certain questions that you're looking to be answered. All right, another minute, another few seconds. Hi Pala, very good evening. All right, so we shall begin. Once again, guys, very good evening. Thank you for joining us. I am Malvika. I am from iSchoolConnect. As a lot of you already know, we are essentially a tech company, and we help students through the whole process of studying overseas, right? Right from recommending universities, courses, to understanding what you need to put together for your application, be it your essays, your SOPs, pretty much the entire process, even your video interviews, assisting you through the visa process, all of that, right? But today we wanted to talk about something that is extremely crucial, an aspect of your application, and that is social work, and how volunteering can be a stepping stone to your success, right? To talk about all of this, we have a very special guest, Miss Mohanavali. Mohana, thank you so much for joining us today. We would love to hear from you all about volunteering, how students can make a difference, and what difference it can create in their portfolio if they are volunteering.
All right, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Malvika, for that great introduction. So I'll kick off my conversation with all of you here. Thank you so much for joining in, and I'm sure each one of you would want to know something about volunteering, or how to volunteer, and how do you sort of find these opportunities, and that's exactly what we will be covering over the presentation as well. But before we kickstart, I'd like a check-in, and this is something which we do in MakeaDifference, where I work currently, and I've been volunteering with MakeaDifference for 9 years now as well. So we'd like to start off with a quick check-in, where love to know from y'all, what are you looking to gain from this session? So if y'all could use the chat box and sort of share your thoughts on what you would like to gain from this session, that would be great. Take a minute, think about it, and go ahead and share on the chat box. How to apply for scholarships, all right. The deadlines, all right. Importance of volunteering and value of it while applying for certain universities. Great. How to apply for admissions, all right. How to find opportunities for volunteering near me. Great. That's something which we will be covering today. I want to know about studying abroad in best colleges from beginning steps and procedures. All right. Looking
We will
for,
try to cover that as well.
yes. Looking for about to enter best universities in the US. How to get into Ivies for undergraduate along with scholarships. How to build a strong profile for top colleges. Great. Volunteering plays a huge role in sort of building a strong profile. And that's something you will sort of learn from today as well. So I'm seeing a couple of questions come in, and I'm sure y'all have thought about certain things you want out of this session, right? And hopefully we'll be able to meet most of these points. If not, you will definitely be able to reach out to either me from the volunteering sector or Malvika, who's sort of the POC with respect to iSchoolConnect, who will help you with the questions which are more regarding your admission processes or anything to do with the colleges you want to sort of apply to, or the scholarship processes as well, right? So we are definitely going to be point of contacts you can reach out to post this session as well. But it's good to know where everyone's headspace is at, and good to know what you all are expecting out of the session as well. We'll try to, as much as possible, ensure that we answer all of these pieces through our session here. All right, awesome. So starting with the introduction. So as I was saying, I'm Mohana, and I'm someone who has volunteered for the last 9 years, and I volunteered with Make a Difference itself. I started in the year 2010, and it's been just an upward journey since then. So I thought I'll take you all down the path of my volunteering journey, and hopefully it inspires a lot of you on this call to sort of become volunteers in the future. Yeah, so let's start with 2009. Yes. So even before 2010, which was when I joined to Make a Difference, I actually started volunteering when I was in school itself. I was in a boarding school in Ooty, and I was part of the Interact Club in Ooty. And in the year 2009, we had a massive flood which hit Ooty. And as Ooty is a hill station, when floods do occur in a hill station, it causes massive landslides, is what you can see behind this board. And that's the sort of havoc it had caused in near my school area. And what I had done was sort of collectivize people within my school to ensure that we were able to collect any sort of basic necessities like clothes, different items we wanted to use, or our substaffs would require, and sort of ensure that we collectivize and mobilize people to go in and help those people. So my volunteering journey really was inspired from school itself. Yeah, and then post that, when I did move out of my boarding school time, I came into Bangalore, and I heard of Make a Difference in my first year of college itself, and I was blown by what the organization was doing, and I was very curious to know what more they had in store. I also at that point wanted to really make friends. So my real purpose of joining Make a Difference was to ensure that I could meet new people and have friends in a new city, because I was starting from scratch, right? So that's exactly why I sort of joined Make a Difference as well. And it's journey in MAD has changed from just wanting to be friends to actually working for a cause which is very close to my heart right now. Yeah, so that was my first class. This is a bunch of students I taught in NGV in Bangalore. It's a slum area in Bangalore. I started off as a teacher, English teacher. You can see our Cambridge book syllabuses, Cambridge books next to the projector there, and that's what I started off teaching in. It didn't stop then. I took up more ownership within the organization, because I started recognizing that I was really good at what I was doing within Make a Difference. And it was, even though teaching was not really what I was passionate about, I was really good with leadership, and I was really good with managing people. And hence I started taking up leadership roles within the organization, within the volunteer base itself. And this was a new shelter home we sort of set up in Bangalore, and we took from scratch. We connected with them, and we ensured that we had volunteers going in every weekend and teaching English to children, and ensuring that they had a good experience and they could actually dream beyond the four walls of their shelter home, right? And that's where actually, this is in 2012 is when I was really awestruck by the work we could do in Make a Difference. And every time I sort of think back to why I'm here in this organization, it probably drives back to this time in 2012, right? In 2013, we went ahead and sort of established a dream camp, which was basically a camp for all children in the shelter home, where we take them out for a 3-day camp, for an experiential camp out of their shelter homes. And everything is organized by volunteers. Everything is set up by volunteers, fundraised by volunteers, and all the partnerships are gotten by volunteers. So it is a massive experience for volunteers themselves, right? And I think what it teaches volunteers to do is be great team players, be great leads, be great people who can actually create experiences for other people. And most of all, it teaches them about the problems in their community itself, right? And when I see this picture and I see all the volunteers standing behind, each one of them are people who've actually gone abroad and studied. I can literally see everyone. I can see Rakesh there in this picture, who studied in Yale. I can see Barun, who studied in the US. I can see Sanjay, who's actually studied in UC Santa Barbara. So yeah, so honestly speaking, when I look at this picture, it is almost like 90% of the volunteers who come in to Make a Difference eventually have the opportunity to go into really great colleges abroad, right? So I guess that is a huge benefit of actually volunteering itself. And of course, 2013-14 took up more leadership roles. I was a finance fellow during this year, and I ensured that finances were managed within the organization. Worked with a bunch of people who were working, college students who had just got out of school. Shreya Prakash here, you can see right next to the guy on the left, is actually someone who's right now studying at the Harvard, right? So so these are all people who have done great work, and actually a lot of them have been have learned a lot of their basic skill sets within Make a Difference, which is a volunteering organization itself. Yeah, and then eventually continued to volunteer and take up other roles in the year 2016, and then joined MAD full-time itself in the year 2016, which is where I've gotten the opportunity to sort of ensure that I do things which I've never imagined myself doing. This is Azim Premji, who's a huge philanthropist in India, and he was funding us at that point. He was giving us a funding of 3 crores at that point, and just the ability at the age of 21 to meet someone at that order and have conversations with someone like him was extremely big. And that's the kind of opportunities you can get in a volunteering space if you really put in the time and effort, and if you really go out of your way to do things you want to be able to do. Having said that, even though I joined MAD full-time, I didn't stop volunteering. I continued to volunteer as a wingman, and I ensured that I took care, I did one-on-one support. So this picture has a bunch of youth who needed one-on-one support post their time in the shelter home, and that is something I actively took up once I became a full-time member as well. So volunteering has never stopped in my life, and it's only continued, and every year I get to meet great other volunteers who join MAD for various reasons, right? And there's nothing wrong in joining a space for saying that you want to sort of ensure that your resume looks better, your school applications look better, or there's nothing wrong in joining an organization for making friends, because that was the reason I joined to Make a Difference as well. Because the moment you join any organization, and if you really like what you're doing and you put in the effort, then the reasons for you can shift from time to time of being and continuing to be a part of that organization, or continuing to support your community, even if it's not through the same organization, right? And that's what you should be open towards as well, which is to learn how to really learn the best out of any place you're going to be volunteering in, and utilize those learnings wherever you go. So yeah, so that's me. And with that, I hope I've managed to inspire a couple of y'all to think of options, or think of ways in which you can volunteer, especially now when COVID-19 is at its prime. We all have to stay home. We're all homebound. There are different opportunities. Don't think like volunteering is only when you have to go on ground and work. There's so many things you can do just sitting out of your home, and there's so many people you can help sitting out of home. You can help organizations spread the word about donating. You can help organizations with so many other opportunities, which I will sort of talk about in my presentation as well, right? But the importance of volunteering in your college admissions is primarily this, which is you gain experiences. So your scores, which is basically your grades and your SAT scores or any examination which you need to write for getting into a college, is not the only thing which really puts you out there, right? You need to be able to tell a story in your application. You need to be able to share something you do which is much bigger than what other people are doing currently. And that's what volunteering really it helps you gain, which is basically experiences which are very different from very other people, and you actually see on ground realities, and being able to help and support those on ground realities teaches you things and gives you memories which you will remember for a lifetime, and probably will really change the way you look at certain things as well. So yeah, experience is a big part of why you should be volunteering for your college application, and which would really help you as well. The other piece is leadership. When you volunteer, like I'd mentioned during my volunteering journey, there were multiple opportunities for me to actually lead teams, to mobilize teams, to create experiences for teams. All of these are skill sets which your colleges are actually looking for. They're looking for people who can actually come in and really gel with everyone else in their college spaces, right? So being able to do that when you are in your undergraduation, or right after you finished your undergraduation, or when you're in school as well, it puts you apart from a lot of other people applying to colleges, right? So just having this one skill set in your college application, well explained and well detailed out, is something which will really put you apart. Yeah. Apart from that is scholarships. A lot of you asked as well, and probably the nitty-gritties of that will be covered by someone from iSchoolConnect. But volunteering itself can give you opportunities for scholarships. You can actually volunteer in places, one which helps you get scholarships, or when you're applying for scholarship, just the way your college application, how volunteering can play a huge role in your scholarship applications as well. Your volunteering experiences can set you apart. I actually know of a friend who managed to get a good amount of scholarship just because of his work experience in Make a Difference, and because of how he was able to stand apart from so many other people who had applied for scholarship, right? So I guess scholarship is a big part of why, I mean, a lot of us, especially who are aspiring to be students abroad, may not be able to afford the education at that sum, and it's important to be able to stand apart and get good scholarships to be able to get where we want to get to, right?
Rightly said, Moana. So many students ask us, and it's a legit question because finances is a big challenge, and scholarships is always something that stands out as a silver lining. But how do you get one is a big question. And guys, believe me, when you add this kind of social work to your profile, along with good academics and a few other aspects of your profile, it'll definitely show up. And through the years, when you study and when you give in your profile, your application, the university will acknowledge this, and there will be points dedicated for this kind of work that you do. So definitely will help with your scholarships as well.
All right. Yes. And now moving to the next piece, which is, one second. Yeah. Moving to the next piece, which is basically networking. When you volunteer, you get to meet a lot of people. You get to meet a lot of people in your own age brackets, people who are much older to you. When I actually started volunteering, I was just 19 years old, but I was interacting and working with people who were 30, 35, people who in organizations at management levels, right? And that just gave me the confidence, one, and second, it taught me a lot. It actually fast tracked a lot of my learning processes much beforehand, right? So it's important that when you do take up a volunteering role, you keep your mindset open to be able to talk and interact with a lot of people where you are volunteering, right? And that helps you build that network. In fact, the other piece is also that I know so many people who've joined Make a Difference and then eventually gone to the same colleges abroad, and then have become support systems for themselves outside of India as well. They stay in the same area, study in the same college, and eventually they're a network they can sort of lean back on in a completely new city, in a completely new country, and they know that they have a friend who they can call if they need someone, right? So volunteering really helps you in ensuring that you build a very, very strong network for yourself. The other piece is also personal enhancement, right? Which is when you do want to take up volunteering, the only reason the reasons you should not just be, I want to volunteer because I want my resume to look good, right? Take up volunteering from an angle that I really want to learn more about myself, because volunteering helps you become way more self-aware. It helps you gain a lot of contextual awareness, and also puts you in a place where you can understand yourself much better in terms of what skills do you need to develop in, what are the personality traits I would probably have to change in. And all of these are really, really good learnings, because when you do go abroad, when you do go to any college, not just abroad but any college, or take up a job opportunity, these are skill sets which job seekers are really, really looking for. They're looking for people who are well attuned to the kind of person you are, who they're looking for people who are willing to change. They're looking for people who are willing to understand themselves better, right? Take volunteering as an opportunity where you can actually personally enhance yourself and make yourself as a better person in this tough world. Yeah, so I guess so these are the big pieces which really helps, which are important to sort of enhance your college application, and the importance of why you should be volunteering. uh, the next piece is about who can become a volunteer. A lot of people ask me, do you think I can volunteer, like is it possible for me to volunteer? And I ask them back, why not? Like, why are you doubting yourself if you can volunteer? So my question to each one of you here is, who can become a volunteer? And I can probably use the chat box to probably tell me, what do you think, who can volunteer really?
Guys, we are going through all your questions in the chat section, in the Q&A section. We'll be answering them in a while. Go ahead and tell us, like Mohana asked, who can become a volunteer?
Awesome. So she says that everyone can be a volunteer. You're absolutely right. Um, each one of you can be volunteers. Nothing stops you from being a volunteer. The only thing which you probably will have to ensure that you make happen is you need to make the time for it. We all have 24 hours. We all either go to college, go to work, are figuring life out, are trying to ensure we're good at what we do. And the only thing we need to do is make time for it. And the moment you're making time for it, you can do as little as you want, or you can do as much as you want when it comes to volunteering, right? And that is primarily with regard to with respect to who can actually volunteer. Any of you can volunteer, and I'll talk about what are actually volunteering organizations looking for as well, um, which is in terms of what makes a good volunteer, right? Someone who cares. Volunteering organizations are really looking for people who care, who deeply care about the cause. It could be any organization. It could be an animal-centric organization. It could be something to do with elderly people. It could be something to do with children. It could be something to do with COVID-19. The idea, the reason why people are looking for volunteers who really care about that particular cause when it comes to volunteering. They're also looking for people who are very passionate about changing the world, really. Like, that's what most organizations are looking for. Like, are you willing to really put in the effort to change the circumstances we currently are in, right? And willing to go above and beyond and really put in the effort to do things so that you can see real change eventually. They're also volunteering organizations, or you need to ensure that you're also meeting their requirement. And there are two types of volunteers generally, which is basically skilled and unskilled volunteers. What I mean by skilled volunteers is, if you're going to be volunteering in a hospital unit or an elderly care unit, right? Or say in a tech company, you need this particular skill set to be able to volunteer in any of these sort of organizations. So they will look for certain skills. Like, are you someone who has done programming before? Are you someone who has done some nursing course before? Or are you like studying to become a doctor, right? So they will look at those skill sets to then recruit you into that organization. But if you're an unskilled volunteer, uh, a lot of volunteering organizations are primarily looking for unskilled volunteers, right? Like, for example, MakeaDifference itself, or UNI for that instance, or even Teach for India for that instance, right? They're not looking for professional teachers. Like MakeaDifference, our primary job is to teach, mentor, and sort of help and support children in need of care and protection. And we're not looking for people who have been teachers all along. We're looking for people who are passionate, who are caring, and who want to work in the space of children. And the moment we see that in them, then we know that we can upskill them to become that kind of volunteer. They go through an intense training process. They go through an onboarding process to become what we need them to be on ground, right? And that is the entire piece of the unskilled volunteer piece itself. However, in Make a Difference also, we have a very set criteria we are looking for. And that's what a lot of other volunteering organizations will also do, which is they will look for a bunch of criteria they want to recruit from. And if you meet these criteria, then they sort of recruit, because they're also trying to see, as a volunteering organization, how can they maintain culture, which is a big part of all organizations, which is how do we ensure that whatever happens, our culture is not sort of hampered around, right? So so if you see all the selection criteria, these are the kind of things we are looking for a volunteer in Make a Difference, right? And that goes with even Teach for India, or an organization like you and I, or even any animal centric organization. Then they'll have a different set of criteria they're looking for. So find a cause you're really connected to, find an organization which will really want you, and that's the organization you should sort of be after, right? Yeah, and the next piece is about why should you volunteer itself. If you're still, after all of this, if you're still trying to find a reason in terms of why you need to volunteer, I guess it's pretty simple, which is that, one, to make a difference in people's life, which is a big part of why you should be inspired to volunteer. The other is about to develop personally or professionally, to ensure that you are able to develop yourself personally or professionally, right? The next piece is to learn something new, learn a skill, learn a particular, I don't know, personality trait, learn something new for yourself. Would be a good reason why you would want to volunteer. To meet people, which was a big reason why I wanted to volunteer. To feel better about yourself, to feel that, you know what, I'm actually giving back to the society. I feel like I owe it to be responsible for the issues in my society. So feel better. To support an organization, community, or cause, you're very connected to something. You feel like animals need their rights to be taken care of. You feel like elderly people are not taken care of enough in the society. So something you feel very strongly about, and you want to really contribute to that particular cause or that organization. To build your resume, which is completely fine. If that's why you want to join or volunteer, that's absolutely fine, and no one should tell you that that's not a good reason, that's not a valid reason to volunteer, right? Or to even ensure that your college applications are foolproof, right? So so these are all very, very good reasons for you to sort of ensure that you, right after this call, you pick up an organization you want to volunteer in, and you sort of apply to them. Yeah, and I think here's when I would sort of want to do a quick activity with y'all, which is basically, let's count our privilege points. What I would like to do is, I will ask you all a few questions, and I'll tell the points you will gain if that question is true for you. Then you will have to ensure that you use a notebook or use your phone where you can just keep a tab on those points. And eventually I would like to have a full added up point. So imagine I ask you, have you had cake today? And if you've had cake today, then you give yourself 5 points. If you've not had cake today, then you give yourself 0 point. Have you had water today? Give yourself 10 points. Then you put it in your notebook, give yourself 10 points. And then if you've not, then you give yourself 0 points. And then once I finish asking all the questions, I'd like you to tell me if you've gotten a 15, or if you've gotten a 0, or if you've gotten just a 5. Yeah. Or if you've just gotten a 10. All right. So let me start off and ask you the question. I'll tell you the purpose behind this activity as well, as soon as we're done with it. All right. How many of you have gone to a private school? How many of you have gone to a private school? If it's a yes, give yourself 5 points. If it's a no, give yourself 0 points. All right, so the next question is, how many of you have a stable family support system currently? How many of you have grown up in a stable family support system? Give yourself 10 points if yes, give yourself 0 points if no. If you are in trouble, do you have friends and family who can help you out? If yes, give yourself 10 points. If no, give yourself 0 points. How many of you have a roof above your head during this pandemic? Give yourselves 20 points. If yes, if no, give yourself 0 points. How many of you or your parents can afford graduation or post-graduation in India or outside of India for you? Give yourselves 5 points. If yes, if no, give yourself 0 points. Now go ahead and tally it all up, add it all up, and share away on the chat box. 45, all right. 45, 20, 45, 45. All right, 50. Great. All right, a bunch of you have shared all your points. Think of these as your privilege points, right? These are your privilege points now which you need to put to use, because there's so many people out there who would not meet even 20, who would not even get 10 points in the 5 questions I've asked here. And they need help and they need support and they need their communities to really support and step up. They need their communities to really figure out how they can give back and ensure that we're able to equally grow together, right? So think of your points. How many of the points you've got, that's the number of privilege points you have as an individual. And it's important that you recognize your privilege and you recognize how you can put your privilege points to use and how can you support your community and how can you take ownership of the issues in your community. And that is why one of the most important reasons why I would think you should volunteer is that by volunteering, you take ownership of the problem of your community. And that is extremely crucial. More than anything else, it's important that as young individuals, we are responsible for the issues we see around us. And how do we ensure that we're able to put in some time to resolve these issues or figure out solutions for these issues? This does not have to be that if you don't find a volunteering organization around you, it's okay. How can you figure out things you can do to help your community, right? That makes a good enough story to put in an application as well. That makes a good enough experience to put in an application as well. So so identify problems in your community, identify issues in your surrounding, and figure out how you can actually resolve them. And if you have an organization working towards it, nothing like this. I feel like more people in a place trying to resolve an issue is much better than one person trying to resolve it. But if there is nothing, there is no opportunities, there are no organizations around you trying to do it, then start one. There's no one stopping you from starting one, figuring it out, how to go about it. I'm more than willing to connect with anyone who's willing to kick off an organization, or at least has an idea and wants to figure out how to work around it, right? So there's nothing stopping us from becoming the next big change leader and figuring solutions for the big problems around us. Yeah, so I guess that this should be good enough. Like, I'm hoping that these are good enough reasons for y'all to figure volunteering opportunities around you. Now, big question which all of y'all had, which is how can you find volunteering opportunities? And I think a big part is understanding why do you want to volunteer. Ask yourself why you want to volunteer, right? It could fall under any of those reasons we given above as well. What really is pushing you to want to volunteer? Identify that reason so that that reason becomes your driving factor to continue volunteering. Because I've done it for 9 years and it's not easy. Volunteering doesn't come easy, and it is stressful. It is something you need to make time for, because there've been days when I couldn't go and have fun with my friends, but I had to go in and take a class in a shelter home. There were times when I had an examination in the morning and I had classes in the evening, and I still had to make it because that's a commitment I've made, right? So volunteering doesn't come easy. So figuring out what's the reason you want to volunteer really drives you and will motivate you to do it in the long term. Identifying your area of interest. It could be anything. It could be anything under the sun. Environment. It could be children. It could be human rights. It could be women's right. It could be LGBTW. It could be anything with respect to what you want to sort of cater to, and that's something which will keep you sort of connected and sort of want to do it as well in the long term. post that, search for volunteering opportunities around you, right? Through Google, through portals. And I will talk about a few portals which are places where you can choose from as well. There is a portal called Connect For, and I will sort of click on this to show you all how that portal looks, because this is the action item you all can maybe take up in post this call as well, which is identify an organization you want to work in. So Connect For actually talks about how you can virtually volunteer, how can you support relief initiatives. A lot of you asked on the chat box as well, which is COVID-19 is happening right now, so what do I do? I cannot go on ground. Well, there are opportunities. We are a big fat world with a lot of issues, a lot of problems, and we also are a big fat world with a lot of intelligent people who find interesting ways to rectify issues. So yes, working from home is a very big way in which you can support as well. And you can click on these links, you can figure out what opportunities you have. When you click on be a volunteer here, you can identify what areas of interest you care about, which is, it can be animals, children, youth, community development, environment. So you can look at all of these areas and click on them and identify organizations which are around you where you can go ahead and support them, right? Yeah, so that is with regard to where how you can find opportunities. Of course, as I am from Make a Difference, I'll talk a little bit about volunteering opportunities in MAD as well. We operate out of 22 cities. You can go to our website and have a look at all the 22 cities we operate in. And if you're part of one of those cities, then please do apply, because our volunteering recruitment processes kickstart in exactly a month and a half. We're actually starting our first recruitment we're looking at it being somewhere mid-June to end of June. Mid-July to end of July. So go ahead and apply if you're in any of these cities. Yeah, just apply. Once you find and once you figure the organization you want to be a part of, then all you have to do is sort of apply. Like, there's no harm in applying to as many organizations as you want to, right? I mean, you get into one, you don't like, it's okay if you don't get into any of them as well, because in the end you'll find a way. If you really want to volunteer, if you really want to give back to the community, you'll figure a way to do it. Go to the nearest shelter home, go to the nearest orphanage near your household, like ask them if they need any help on any particular day of the week, and that's volunteering to it. Yeah, so volunteering, you can find opportunities to volunteer in any place through any sort of form. So nothing should really stop you from being able to volunteer really. Make the most of your volunteering journey as well. It's not all serious. It's not that, oh yes, I have to only change the world and I can't do anything apart from it. But there are a lot of other things you gain from volunteering, like I mentioned in the previous slides. And it's important that you make that happen for yourself, because when you're in a volunteering organization, there's no one really guiding you. You need to really find your path in that organization and figure how you're going to learn the best from there, and figure how you're going to make the best use of your time, right? So so do ensure that you make the most of your journey. And a few ways you can do that is have an open mindset when you go in. Ensure that you're going in from an angle that I'm willing to do what I want to, whatever it takes, and then through that process figure out if it's really working for you, not working for you, and if it is, then do as much as you can in that space. Take ownership. A big part of volunteering is taking additional ownership. No one's going to come in. It's not a corporate setup. No one will tell you that, hey, if you want this rice, then you have to do this much work. It's not going to work like that. In a volunteering organization, people put in their own effort to take ownership, and if it's been recognized, then you will definitely be rewarded for it. So do take ownership within your organizations. Like, for example, in Make a Difference, we have different hierarchies, right? Like, which is, we have a volunteer base, we have a fellow base, we have a strategist base, which are basically regional managers. The fellow base are city managers. The volunteers are the ones who deliver the interventions on ground. We have the director team, we have an associate team. So we have multiple layers within the organization itself. And the more you take ownership, the more layers you can also cover within the organization. Yeah. Go the extra mile, because it's as simple as taking ownership. Put in the effort to really go the extra mile, because that will really benefit you. It'll not just benefit you, but it'll not just benefit the organization, but it'll also benefit you, which is the important part, which is how am I ensuring that when I'm volunteering, I'm gaining a lot out of it as well, right? So how am I able to take back as much as I can? Make time to get to know people, because it's a big part of networking. If you're just going to go in, volunteer, and come back and not really meet people, then a big part of that volunteering opportunity you're missing out on, which is getting to know new people, understanding different people's thought processes. Maybe y'all will just strike a conversation and y'all will have like a business setup the next month, and that could happen through your volunteering opportunity, because you met someone who's like-minded. And we know so many people, as I know so many people who've come into MAD and sort of started their own nonprofits as well, because they sort of really hit it off, right? So taking the time to get to know people is going to be a big part of your journey itself. Have fun while you're at it. It's super fun to be a part of volunteering organizations, any volunteering organization for that matter. Like, yeah, go with the flow and have fun. There's a lot of events volunteering organizations conduct within the organization itself. Be a part of all of them, and participate in everything, because that's where you learn a lot of these pieces as well. So have fun at it, and yeah, no regret. You should basically have zero regrets when you walk out of it, or when you're leaving the organization. You should just have a lot of memories to take back. So yeah. Now coming to the important part, which is how do you articulate your volunteering journey in your application itself, right? I'm sure iSchoolConnect will be able to put you in touch with much more details, but I just have a couple of things which I've used when I'm creating LORs, or when I'm creating recommendation letters for a lot of volunteers who are applying abroad. A few things which we keep in mind while we're doing that is to ensure that we use power verbs and action verbs, which is basically, instead of saying a sentence like volunteered at a care shelter home for boys teaching English, I would rather put it as taught communicative English to 10th children at risk and improve their monthly BAT scores by 16%. Yeah, so yeah, stuff like this is what will put you apart from someone else as well. Ensuring you're using data points, ensuring you're using technical terminologies while you're putting it in your recommendation letter, or while you're adding it to your student profile. Use keywords like these: team management, leadership, team player, community engagement, services, compassion, interpersonal skills, self-motivations. All of these are these are terminologies which your recruiter, or your school, the person going through your application is really looking for. And when you're able to build your application around these terminologies, or your volunteer experience around these terminologies, then that really does add in a hook for your recruiter as well. Be a storyteller. It's important that in your application, you're able to tell a story from your journey, from your experience. And that's why it's important that you take up a volunteering opportunity which you're very strongly connected towards, which you're passionate about. Or you join an organization and you make the cause that organization is working for as your passion, which is what I did primarily, right? And even today, if I move out of MakeaDifference and work for another nonprofit organization, I'll be able to easily do that shift, because in my head, I just want to be able to help people, right? And me moving to another organization will help me do the same thing, but at the same time, I'm still cause connected, I'm still passionate, right? And that is, the moment you're that, then you're able to tell a story of your journey, you're able to tell a story of your experience. This leads me to the last piece, which is to hear a success story itself from a volunteer from MakeaDifference who has studied in UC Santa Barbara. So I'd love you all to hear from him, because he is someone who's gone through the volunteering experience, worked in MakeaDifference, and then eventually applied for a college in the US. So hearing from him will probably allow you all to sort of wrap your heads around volunteering itself and how beneficial it is.
Hey everyone. So I started volunteering in my second year of undergrad. I had the opportunity to teach children in shelter homes. And it had such a huge impact on me, because for the first time in my life, I was able to care about something that was outside of myself. And I was able to find a community of people who cared about things that I cared about. And it has really defined a huge part of who I am today. So I volunteered through my time in college, and I worked for a few years. And when I finally had to apply for my master's in the US, that's when a lot of these things came back, because in all of the applications, a big part of what they asked for, either they asked me directly what was my volunteering experience, or that was sort of expected to be put in my statement of purpose. And I did not know when I was volunteering that this was such a big deal. And I mean, I would never recommend that this should be the reason that you volunteer. But at the same time, I cannot overstate how important it was in my volunteering, in my college applications. I wrote about it in all the applications that I did send, and I applied to a bunch of colleges. And even during the interview process, there were questions around that. And I feel like it is very important because it really helps you demonstrate your drive, your ownership, your ability to work with other people to achieve a similar goal. And I feel like those kind of things are some things that are very important in grad school. So if you're thinking about applying for colleges, I cannot recommend volunteering enough for that reason and for all the other reasons. So I hope that's something that you guys are going to give some thought to, and all the very best.
Yep. So with that, I think I'm going to end on the note that if you do want to volunteer with Make a Difference, then sign up on www.makeadiff.in. You can also reach out to me at mohana@makeadiff.in, and I would love to help you answer any questions with respect to volunteering or anything else any other concerns you would probably have, or any questions you would have. So yeah, so this is me sort of wrapping up my presentation, but Malvika would like to share a few pieces with the next slide. Yes.
Absolutely. In fact, before we go to this, I just want to say, this was so enriching, Mohana, with all these different questions that students have, and we're going to go ahead and answer all of them. I think we've got so much more clarity with as to what is volunteering in the first place, who can take it up, how much of your time do you need to invest in it is one of the questions that we'll answer. What is it that you are required to do is another question that you've answered. And of course, not with the goal of it in your head, but the results are great. The fruits that you bear after volunteering are brilliant, right? You grow as a person, you communicate better, you have a network that is so strong that you will be able to harness it for the years to come. And of course, it helps you in your application. It helps you when you go to the university, and it's an added spotlight on you in your application, right? So having said that, we're going to go ahead and answer a couple of the questions that students have asked. And for example, we have this one question, which is, how much time do I need to dedicate to be a volunteer? And somebody else added to that, and how much time do I need through the week? And another question with respect to time was, should I be dedicating a vacation, a holiday for volunteering, or should I just be doing it for an entire year? So some timeline suggestions, please.
Perfect. That's actually a very, very good question. So from like a timeline point of view, different organizations would probably require different timelines. There are organizations which would require you to come once a month. There are organizations where you can just sort of go and volunteer whenever you feel like. There are organizations which would require a more stronger commitment from you. Like for example, in Make a Difference, we require volunteers to be committed to us for at least 1 year, where they come in and volunteer with us every weekend and take classes for almost 3 hours a week, and also attend all the other events which happen within Make a Difference. Every month we have, every quarter we have a city session. All the volunteers from the entire city come together and they meet everyone, and they sort of do some engagement activities at the same time, some L&D work, right, which is some development work as well. So there are organizations like MAD, which is slightly more focused on a 1-year commitment. And the reason behind that is that in MAD, we believe that we need that consistent support to the child so that the child is able to grow as well. Because if the child is getting support very haphazardly from different people, then it's going to impact the experience of the child as well. So it depends. Like, for example, if it's Teach for India is not a volunteering opportunity, it's a fellowship opportunity, but Teach for India does it for a 2-year period. You need a 2-year commitment with Teach for India to be able to really do all of their modules and take up all their initiatives in the right way. There's UNIN, which is also a child-focused organization, which again does, which is again a 1-year time commitment. They're organized like Bhumi, which is you can go and volunteer you can go and volunteer, at least it used to be this way, which is basically you can go and volunteer in a class whenever you have the time to be able to do it, right? So the different organizations which sort of ask for different time commitments, and you will need to do a little bit of research before you really go in, depending on the amount of time you have. And that's why I said a big part of volunteering is figure out if you have the time to do it, and then go ahead and take it up. Also, the additional attachment to that is that usually if there is a time commitment or there is a time commitment requested by the organization, you will get your certificate only once you accomplish that time commitment. And that certificate is actually very important for your application process as well. So if there are organizations which don't really give you a certificate, then you might have to request for a recommendation letter or a letter authorizing the fact that you have volunteered with them. So yes, so that is something which you will have to additionally work on to figure out for yourself. So.
Brilliant. Few more questions. Following that, right, 3 hours a week, very reasonable amount of time. Would that also mean I can do it alongside my college time and alongside my work, like professional work?
Yes. I mean, I did all my volunteering for the first 5 years was done alongside my college. I did law in Christ University, which is quite a demanding course. And Christ University also has a very, very strict credit policy and time commitment, which means you can't miss a lot of classes there either. But in spite of which, I was able to pull off all my 5 years volunteering with MakeaDifference side by side. So again, like if you're able to prioritize your volunteering work, you will figure a way to do it. Lots of people work and volunteer side by side as well. In fact, it's easier for working people because they get their Saturday, Sundays off, and they're able to do that in a much more, like they can focus on volunteering much more. College students usually are studying over Saturdays and may have an examination over Monday. Hence, it can get a little cumbersome, but yeah, I never had an issue. I enjoyed working MAD alongside law. In fact, it was such a fresh breath of air, the fact that I could volunteer. So yeah.
Absolutely. Next question. This is going to be like a rapid fire because we have so many amazing questions. We have another question, and that is, do you need money to invest if you're volunteering with an organization?
No. I mean, like, at least the organizations I am aware of, you will not need money to invest. I'm assuming your question is that should I pay the organization to volunteer with them? No, but there could be fundraising activities the organization is conducting for which you may participate and you may want to give, but no organization will force you to give money to the organization itself. Yeah.
Absolutely. I'm going to take up a quick question, and that is, a lot of you have asked how to build a strong profile, right? So there are so many different aspects to your profile that you need to keep in mind. So you guys really need to note all of these aspects, once I start stating. First one, for sure, is academics, right? You need to work hard with your scores, and no matter what you're going to study, and no matter what you've studied, if they're not even, associated, like a lot of you are engineers, you're wanting to transition into management, then show the college that, you know what, I've gone ahead and taken courses. I've done a course in all these different fields that I'm actually interested in. So show that intent through the knowledge. Another point that you need to have is co-curricular activities, right? Associate yourself with something, whether it's arts or whether it's sports. What the college, what the application will tell about you is, look how consistent this person is, look how committed or how passionate this person is towards what he or she has done. Show that you've invested, 5 years into, learning a certain sport, or you've invested all this time and now you're probably even training people in it. That's point number 2. Point number 3 is experience, right? No matter what you're studying, go ahead and gain some experience. You have so many internship opportunities right now, even if it is, taking an internship opportunity online, right? Go ahead, learn from people, get mentorship, and yeah, so that those 3 plus social media and LinkedIn. I know a lot of you associate social media as memes and cat and dog videos, but there's so much more to it, right? You have so much knowledge with you with whatever field you're interested in. Curate that knowledge, share your perception, and tell people, hey, look, I know things about this area of interest, and I am a growing expert in this. Here are my thoughts about it. Same thing for LinkedIn. The first thing you should be doing, if you haven't already, is go and clear all the rust of your LinkedIn account. Make a LinkedIn account if you haven't already. Connect with people. Start posting things over there. Even if it is as simple as resharing valuable links within the area of interest you have. You're interested in artificial intelligence? Go ahead and share news from the world of AI, right? It's as simple as that. And of course, there is social work. We heard really interesting things over the past 1 year, like 1 hour. I think if you have to take away something, that is for sure the power of social work, the power of volunteering. So please associate yourself, create that persona around you, that you're not just caring about yourself as an individual, but you care about the society. You're somebody who is willing to scale the goodness within you for the society. And that is a kind of thought universities are looking for, right? So these are just few aspects of how you can build that skyrocketing profile of yours. I hope that answers a couple of your questions. And just to add to that, since a lot of you have asked 100% scholarship or getting financial aid, there are so many ways. One thing, of course, there are private organizations, there are government-based scholarships. You need to keep your eye out for it. They will, of course, be based on different kind of eligibility. It can be, of course, based on the kind of social work you've done, or they could be for a certain area of study, right? There are a lot of, scholarships for students who are, probably studying a certain area of interest. That's one way to go about it. There are, of course, need-based scholarships. If you feel that your family has challenged financially, then you can, of course, put that forward as well for your scholarships. And there are universities which are providing you these assistantship programs. Now, the moment you join the university, you need to look for these assistantship programs. We know so many students who have at least 60 to 70% of their fees waived off because of these assistantship programs that they have taken up, right? So there are just so many ways to go about it. It is the intent with which you need to look at these things, right? Those are a few questions, and I think another important question students have asked is how to deal and how to go about volunteering through coronavirus. Can I do something online? Is a question that students have asked. Mohana, what are your thoughts about that?
Yes, definitely. In terms of volunteering online is going to be the big thing in the next 1 year at least, until there is a cure found for coronavirus or things settle down. And there are opportunities opening up. There are especially like with respect to research data or like to track data points. The government itself is actually opening up a lot of opportunities for people to work from home and help them with data crunches, right? There are also opportunities like I showed on the Connect for page. There are opportunities where you can virtually help. There are even small projects like you can do like storytelling and recording stories to ensure that organizations can use them during their virtual sessions in their classrooms, virtual classrooms, or send them to the shelter homes they're working with. All of those are opportunities which are there. It'll take a little time though for nonprofits to figure and identify places where, like, how they can virtually start recruiting volunteers, or not just recruiting, but even start having them execute a lot of the volunteering plans virtually. Because this is to the nonprofit sector, this is quite a COVID-19 has been quite a hit for the sector itself, only from an angle of a lot of our things are human connect. Like, nonprofit works and thrives on that human connect we have with people, we have with organizations, we have with stakeholders. So when that's immediately taken out, then going completely virtual becomes difficult, and figuring all our processes become difficult. But there are definitely opportunities available. So nothing should stop us from being able to go on and helping. And as and when things settle down, as when we have a hold on the spread of the virus, slowly opportunities will start opening up, and it'll have to be of all of us to sort of brave up and figure how can we keep the sanitation checks in place, and how do we maintain social distancing, do all of the things we have to, and still go ahead and sort of support the people, support people, or whatever cost you were looking to support all of these things going on ground and figuring out. So yeah, slowly things will go back, but up until then, there are opportunities which you can definitely opt for.
Absolutely. We have a good question from one of the students, Mr. Abraham. He's asking if there are any NGOs related to sports.
There are organizations like Dream 11 which do contribute to ensuring that sports is taken care of by other organizations. There is Akanksha Foundation, in fact, which has a sports scholarship for all the children they work with as well. I'm not too sure about an organization just specifically focusing on sports, but you know what, there is definitely going to be one out there. You will just need to sort of go on the hunt and find for it, and there will definitely be an organization focusing on sports, because there are other corporate organizations which support in ensuring that sports is elevated in India, and students are supported in like ensuring sports is elevated. So yeah.
Right. Yes, we have a few more questions. Rishi is asking, can Instagram baking blog count as a good co-curricular activity? Yes, it can act as a great activity. I would recommend you go ahead and have a website as well, because that would substantiate your interest. That will help help you increase your reach within the community. So that, of course, will add to your profile.
I can actually add in something. When you're doing something like a baking course and you sort of like link it to funds fundraised through the baking course is going for a COVID cause, that actually counts as a very a great initiative you can put up and set up, and actually and count it as extracurricular and a non-profit activity. So yeah.
Absolutely. In fact, it all goes hand in hand if you think of it. You're nurturing your co-curricular activity, and at the same time you are associating with the cause. It's a win-win. Tripti has asked, could my extracurricular activities like Kathak and NCC be added to my profile? Yes, please do add these to your profile. They will show that you are, associated with a form of art, which takes a lot of hard work, commitment, passion, and that is the kind of attitude, the university is looking for. So please add these kind of facets to your college application. Rishi has asked, can you host another such webinar for internships? For sure. We can definitely do a detailed webinar about internships. You can tell us what else you're looking for in terms of, the upcoming webinars. What else? Mohana, go ahead and see if you find any good questions. I'm just looking through so we don't miss any. Okay, can we directly reach out to Mona? For sure, we're going to be sharing the details with you guys, like she's already shared. We're going to send out a mail and you will receive details to connect with MAD as well. Okay, wait, where are we? Yeah. Please tell about financial aid and scholarships. I think we just discussed some time back about scholarships. we just discussed in detail. How can some repetitive questions. How can a 12th standard student start volunteering in any of the organizations? Mona, would you like to take that up?
Yeah, that's actually a very good question, which is how do school students sort of give back to the community or volunteer? Find things you can do. I know a lot of schools which actually encourage their students to set up their own small little initiatives in terms of like figuring out how to help house helps in your community, or figuring out how to help stray dogs in your community. So like small initiatives which will not take too much of your time, but you can still like get all the children in your community to come together and figure it out. Because at the end of the day, what volunteering opportunity really does is it helps you build leadership skills. And if you're able to do that by your own, by just setting up your own thing and mobilizing people around you, then that's a win for you. You're basically doing what any other organization helps with regard to volunteering. So when you're in school, I would recommend that you set up small things which you can get people to do around you. But also in MAD, we do recruit people actually in 12th standard. We do recruit people in 11th and 12th as well. The numbers are very, very small because we do recognize that 12th board examination is a big part, and we don't want to, the priority at that age is supposed to be your examinations, because I mean, you will have to ensure that you get good grades and move sort of get into a good college as well. So we don't want to take that purpose away from the individual, but there are organizations which will recruit you and take you in. But because your sort of priority would be academics at that point of time, I would recommend find something small, find something which you can go over the weekends and do. If you have a shelter home or an orphanage around your area, if you can just go support them for an hour and a half every Sunday on your own will and time, then that is something that's good enough. Like that's a good start. And if you're passionate about doing something when you're in 12th, you will definitely do it all your life. So there's no stopping you from giving back after that. So yeah.
Absolutely, and I'm so happy that from within from that time itself, from that age itself, you've started thinking about volunteering, and to start building a profile from that early stage is what will help you for sure. Shivam is asking what sort of work we have to do after registering with MAD or any other organization for volunteering. I think in terms of daily deliverables, Mona, if you can show some light.
Yes. So I will talk about what, like in MAD, once you've applied, you go through a recruiting process, and then you go through an onboarding process. And you can opt for different volunteering profiles within MakeaDifference. And that will be the case for a lot of organizations as well, which is within the organization, there'll be different verticals. Like there will be a fundraising vertical, there will be teaching, mentoring, there will be human capital, like how to manage your human capital. So all of these are different verticals you can sort of opt for. And once you've opted and you've figured what's your best fit, and you've been recruited into that profile, in MAD, you sort of every weekend you come together. If you're part of the fundraising team, you have meetings, you identify how to help the organization's fundraising, how do you engage all the volunteers to fundraise, and motivate everyone to fundraise. If you're a teaching volunteer, you go on ground, you prepare lesson plans during the week. You have someone who helps you prepare them, you have someone who goes through them, and then once you have a lesson plan created, you conduct your classes on ground, and you have a debrief post that, right? So that is your every weekend schedule. Every quarter you meet as a team, you meet as a city, and you sort of ideate on certain things, any issues which are happening at a city level, how do we recover from it. So those are pieces which we sort of take care of in MAD. And every organization will have its own purposes. If it's an animal based organization, their daily routines would be very different. But yes, one big thing we look at in MAD, and I think that goes with any other organization as well, is even though we may give a time, but we're always looking for people who are willing to go above and beyond, because the problem is so big that just 3 hours every weekend is not going to help us resolve it. So we know our volunteers will eventually put more time than what is expected. So hence we don't even give them a time. We just tell them, are you like excited to do this? If you are, please join us, and then we will take it from there. So yeah.
Brilliant. I think we've answered as many questions as we could. And thank you guys for joining us for this session. Thank you, Mona, for taking us through this and, for telling the students everything about volunteering. And like we already mentioned, from how to do it to where to do it and how you can go about this and what are the benefits it can have for you and your profile. So once again, thank you so much, Mona. All of you folks, if you're looking at assistance for your profile, if you're looking at studying abroad, you can always connect with us at iSchoolConnect. We can handhold you through the whole process, right from choosing universities, shortlisting courses, to handholding you through putting together your SOPs, your essays, helping you with visa assistance, scholarship assistance, putting together your financial documents, video interviews. There's a whole lot that is to be done, and we help you with the entire process. And all of this with top experts from around the world and with state-of-the-art artificial intelligence tools, right? I think we covered pretty much everything, Mona. That's it from us, guys. If you have any queries, you can always write to us. You can always write to Mohana and us, of course. We will share details over the forthcoming mail. Thank you so much once again. Bye-bye. Take care.